Good morning, class, and welcome back to our session again. Now, my name is Miss Christine Doris, and today I have with me Miss
Alia Leighton,
right? And today we will be looking at a new topic with you, all right? And a very interesting one at that. One that you cannot do without when creating your work of art. Now, on the board, we have a very interesting work of art, right? Very interesting work of art. Now, we have different aspects of it that makes it interesting, all right? Now, can you tell me what is one of the first things that jumps out at you when you look at this work of art? Show by the raising of hands. Correct, Miss Bacchus. Lines, right? What are the colors of the lines? Correct. White lines and black lines. Alright? Correct. And we have some, so with that being said, we have some direct lines and indirect lines, right? Now, for instance, like how we have the road and the grass and so on, these are also utilized by lines, but they are not directly pointing out to us as the white and the black. Alright? Can you say one other thing that's jumping out at you when you look at this work of art? Yes, Miss Alia? Yes, indeed. Correct, right? The spheres or the globes or the circle, right? Or the planets. Yes, the planets, right? They are also jumping out at you. Alright, so without knowing what you've just listed, there are two elements of art. They are lines and they are shape, right? Color is also another one because as you can see there, we're seeing the varying colors as well. Alright? As well as we're seeing texture, right? Because here on the road we have a smooth texture as we have here. Right? So let's dive right into our lesson for today. So on the board here, as you can see, we have varying elements of art. Now, we have, what are the few that we just listed are found in a work of art? We found lines, shape, we find texture, and we found color. Alright? Okay, so bear in mind there are others. So we have line, shape, form, color, texture, and we have space. Alright, now without these elements of art, alright, artists will not be able to create their work effectively. Okay, so the elements of art are considered the building blocks, right, of your work of art, or like the ingredients. Without them, you cannot create your work of art. Okay, so I'll hand you over to now Miss Alia, who will walk you through the first element of art to give you a bit more information.
Okay, so good afternoon once again. So the first element of art we have here is line. Now, line is one of the basic element of art. Anyone can tell me what line is and why is one of the basic element of art? Why is it important in art? Anyone? Yes. Okay. And do you know how we create a line? Anyone can tell me, how do you create a line? Yes. Okay, well that can be an answer. Okay, so a line is a mark made by a moving point. So when you have your pencil, for example, right, you have your pencil here, and the first thing you do when you have your page, let me have a page here to show you an example, right? Now say this is your book, right? And like it said, a line is created by a moving point. So then you have your pencil, and as soon as you make a mark or a dot, it moves. Isn't that true? Okay, good. So a line is a moving point, and also Like we can see in the picture that Miss show you above there, we see in lines, right? And then we see the different size of lines there also, right? We have signs in width, length, right? And big, small, fine, right? And also there are different types of lines. And the different types of line can be dot, zigzag, dashes, colors. You can make it like hills. And in the artwork that you see just now, you see in lines. Like the forest, you can see the forest is like the hills that is going in the line directions, right? And we have swirls, lightning, waves, loops, right? And there's a lot more of different types of lines. Straight, horizontal, vertical, all those stuffs are different types of line, right?
Yes. Before Miss moves on, can you identify 3 types of lines in this room? Show by raising of hands. Yes, Miss Alia. Straight line.
Okay,
Yes.
that's correct.
We have wavy line. Indeed. Right? Any other line?
Yes, okay.
Rough line. Okay.
That could work.
Interesting. All right. So that brings even though we're talking about art, we must learn to also appreciate and associate your knowledge with your surrounding.
Yes.
Okay. All right. On to our next element.
Then we have the shapes.
All right. Now shape. All right. So now shape. We said that the elements of art are the building blocks of art, or like the ingredients. All right. So without them, you cannot create your work of art. Now, remember, I said a very important thing just now. She said a line is created by a moving point. All right. So likewise, when we move the point, we start at point A. We move all the way around, right? And we end up back, and we end up with a shape, right? And likewise for the others as well. Alright, so here we have some basic shapes, and they are also considered geometric shapes. Alright, geometric shape because they are man-made and because they are very formal looking. Alright, now the geometric shapes are also considered two-dimensional, meaning they have height and they have width. They do not have form, right? Because they are flat. Okay, the other shape or example of shape we have is organic shapes. Alright, can you identify the shapes on the board? Can you tell me what this is? Does this look familiar to you? Does this shape look familiar to you? Yes, you might call it a correct thing, right? They might find in your train, right? You have an example of a leaf and something like a bramble or a branch. Alright? So take time to appreciate your surroundings, right? So you can familiar yourself, have interaction with nature, right? Bond with nature. Okay? Now, so we have organic shape and we have geometric shapes. Alright? Before we, can you identify for me 3 shapes in this room? Show by the raising of hands. Yes, we have rectangular shape, yeah. We have lots of rectangular shape in here, right? We have the AC, the curtains, the cupboard, the door, right? Can you identify any other shape in here? Yes, we have square. Yeah.
And the shape that you identify in here, right, is it an organic shape or a geometric shape? Anyone can answer. You can do it by raise of a hand. Correct, and it is a geometric shape.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Alright. Any other question? No?
No?
Alright, let's move on. I'll take you through forms.
Now, form is a 3-dimensional object that has width, and depth, right? Now, when we said a form is a three-dimensional shape whereby it has width, length, and depth. This is for example, right? And we also have here for example, but I'm going to explain from here. When it said it have width, right? It depends on the size of the bottle or the box. Height going to be how high it is, and depth going to be how deep it is inside, right? So, and also you can move around it and you can see all the different sizes of the bottle, right? Now this is a form, this box here is a form and is a three-dimensional object, right? And two-dimensional object is something that is flat. Can you remember the shapes that we show you at the top? That is a two-dimensional shape. It's flat, it's a flat surface. Three-dimensional shape is whereby you can see around the object, right? Sorry about that. You can see around the object whereby it has width, length, and depth, right? Okay. Now we have some shape here to show you, like the pyramid, cylinder, cube, and the cone, right?
Indeed. Right? So to add to what Miss said, right? Remember what are the basic shapes we had before? We had a circle, but now here, because this is a form, it's considered a sphere. Alright? We had the square just now, and now because it's in the shape of a form, we have it's changed to cube. Right? Or cube one. Right? We had the rectangle. Now it's changed into a cylinder. Alright, we had triangle, it's now changed into a cone. Alright? Okay, on to the next element.
Now the next element of art is color.
Color. Right? Now, interestingly, have you ever noticed that without light you cannot see? Indeed, right? Because light helps us to appreciate the things around us and helps us to appreciate color. Okay? So now for color, we have three important ingredients that makes color. We have hue, which is another name for color. We have value, that speaks of the lightness or the darkness of the color. And we have intensity. Intensity talks about the pureness of the color and the saturation of the color. Alright, here we have a few examples of what colors are. Of course, an example of the rainbow. Alright, so light helps us to appreciate color. Right? Can you identify for me some colors in here? Yeah? Show by raising of hands. Yes, David? Cream.
Yes.
Yes. You have gray or silver. Yes. Any other color? Yes, Rihanna? Red. Indeed. Any other color? Yes, Abigail? White. Indeed. Can you see any other color? Green. Yes. The box Miss showed you just now is yellow, amongst other colors. Right? So if we were to turn this room dark right now, we won't see any of these colors, right? Of course, we'll have a picture in our mind as to what's around us, but without the light, as if you are blind, you won't be able to see those colors. Okay? Any question there? No? Okay. Let me take you through value now.
Now we'll be moving on to value. Value refers to the light or darkness of tone or colors, right? It's essential for creating the illusion of depth and form. Now we have light, mid-tone, and dark. Now without this volume, our art piece is nothing. So you just imagine you created an art piece and the whole entire page is black. Do you think that's an art piece? No. Why? Because it doesn't have the values inside of the art piece, right? So if you're creating, for example, if you're creating an art piece and you're trying to color a landscape of rivers, and just imagine the bushes and trees and so forth, right? And you're not going to cooperate the colors, the values here. You're just going to use one color and it's black. You color the tree in black, you color the river in black, then you go color, right? You're just using one deep tone. I mean, if you're using black, right, you have to go with the values, right? You use a little bit light shade where probably the sun is not shining. You use like, you know, a bright color here, and then behind where you cannot see the sunlight, you can use like a little bit of darker color, right? This is where the values come in place, right? If you don't use your values correctly, your art piece will not stand out, right? Miss, do you have anything to add in there?
So value also gives your work or your object form.
Yes.
Alright? Likewise, we had shape and we had form. Alright? Value brings out the form in your work and in your object. Alright? Okay.
Which we're going to move on to texture.
Texture. Right? Look in front of you on your table. Can you identify for me what texture you're feeling there? Is it smooth? Is it rough? It's smooth? Right. Right? Our table is smooth. Can you identify what texture the floor has? It appears to be rough, but it's smooth. Right? So you need to observe. So our next element here is called texture. Alright? So texture, we have varying texture. We have a wood-like texture, a brick-like texture, a marble, rock, grass, tree bark, mosaic, roof tiles. Alright? Now bear in mind that these textures, without understanding or having knowledge of what your surrounding looks like, you won't be able to identify them. Likewise, when you walk in, you're taking a nice stroll in your backyard, right? You see the grass sticking out, you know, something might have the razor grass, right? Very sharp, right? That's a texture, right? So grass like texture, a sharp texture, right? When you're looking at the big mango tree or coconut tree, you see the bark of the tree, it has different texture, alright? Okay. Can you identify for me two other textures in this room? Show by raising of hands. Can you see a rough texture next to you? Yes? Yes, Isaiah? Yes, we have a rough texture. We have smooth texture. Can you identify for me any other texture in the room? Yes, Joshua, we have a bumpy texture. Alright? Correct. Alright, let Miss Alia walk you through the last
Elements of art, which is space. Now, space refers to the area around or between objects. It can be positive, the area occupied by the object, and also we have the negative, the empty area around the object. And for example, we have here, what can you see here? Yes, we can see two faces, right? Now, the negative space that we can identify is the area that is around the object, right? Or you can say around the face, right? Now, and the positive face is going to be where the object occupied, right? Whereby you're seeing the two human face, right? And for example, as you can see, myself and Miss Doris is standing here. Can you identify the negative space? You can say by raising of your hands. Yes? Okay, that's correct. The negative space is going to be that is around us, right? And the positive space is whereby myself and Miss Doris is occupying. Okay? And if you do, for example, if you just imagine yourself doing an art piece and you do not have these negative and positive space, it's going to be a bunch of confusion, right? If you don't have the space. You imagine you drawing a stool without seeing through the stool, right? and we wouldn't be able to identify whether it is a stool or not, right? So you have to be careful. You have to know what are your negative and your positive space, right? Anything to add, Miss?
Yes, and regardless of its or if it's positive or negative space, they are both important.
Yeah.
All right. So this brings us to the end of this lesson. Now we have an activity for you. Now today's activity entails you to create a work of art, and your work of art will have no less than 3 elements of art. Alright, you're going to create your work of art. You can list them to identify them, or when I look at your art, I must readily see these elements of art. Okay, do not limit yourself. Be creative and think outside the box.
Any 3 of your choice, right? Now you have the opportunity to choose and think about what you want to draw, so that we can easily identify what are the elements in your art piece, right?
Yes. So while you're thinking and getting your book and your pencil out and so on, listen up for your names. Okay, the boys: Isaiah, Danielle, Ravindra, Shane, Sean, Nathaniel, Joshua, Denzel, Yusuf. The girls now: Salima, Halima, Zakima, Shania, Alia, Janifa. Alright, okay. Alright, so Miss and I will be coming around to check your work. Please be quiet and work. Alright,
We're going to check and see where you're at, and we can give you some information, or we can encourage you to do do certain things.
Here we have our first student's work. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of incorporation of the elements of art. Alright, we're seeing the use of geometric and organic shapes. We're seeing a bit of texture in our plants. We're seeing color being used. Alright, we're seeing value being used on the roof. Alright, so I love how you identify your elements and you are able to show them in a work of art. The only advice I'll give you is to work on the form and the realism in your work of art. If you're representing something in real life, then you need to know exactly how that thing looks to do a good representation of it. Alright, so good job, keep it up. I love this work. Okay, and here we have our second piece of artwork. This student has chosen to do something like a still life composition. Alright, so we see here another identification of the elements used. We're seeing shape, color, form, value, and line. Alright, so I am loving this. I'm also loving the variation in the shading and the value. Alright, and keep it up. Some more work is needed, but so far so good. Good job.
Here we have a next piece, work of art, and as you can see, the uses of elements here. We have the negative and positive shape. We also see in here negative and positive space, whereby the tree is taking up a positive space, and here we have the negative space whereby is not occupied. That's very good. We also see in some lines, we see in some organic and geometric shapes. We see in organic shape in the trees and the cloud. We see in some geometric shapes like the sun and the buildings and the windows and so forth. We're seeing the lines on the road. So far, it's a good piece of artwork. We're seeing some forms in terms of color, and the only thing that I see wrong is that they're trying to be realistic and they need to work on the realistic part. right, in more coloring and in forming the trees and the buildings and so forth. Good piece of artwork, good piece. At least they get the concept or of the different types of elements of art.
This brings us to the end of our session. Now, for a recap, we wanna let's see how much you would have grasped in this lesson. So, by the raising of hands, I would like you to define for me what the elements of art is or are. So, by the raising of hands, yes, Devon. Indeed, the elements are the things we use to create our work of art, and we can't do it without them. Another student? Yes, Alia? Yes, the elements of art are the building block of an artist's work. True? Another student, please? Yes, Devon? The ingredients of an artwork. Correct. Alright, you can't do without them. Without this, we cannot create artwork. Correct? One more student, please. What is or are the elements of art? Yes, Selena. The things we use to create our work of art. Correct. Alright.
And so you say what are the elements of art? Can you list some of the elements of art? Show by the raise of your hands. Then we have you. Lines, correct. Shapes, correct. Colors, that's correct. Forms, lovely, great jobs, right? Great job. Now those are some of the elements of art that you use, right? So this afternoon, Miss Christina will give you homework to do at home so that you can practice on some of the elements of art so that you can become or you can do good when drawing or to become an artist, right?
Yes. So now for your homework, you will put two objects together, and you will observe them and see what are the elements that are being used, and you will draw those two composition and you will bring it along. Okay, remember color is one of your elements of art, so you have to utilize color. All right, now to the inside of our next class, we meet again. Now we will be looking at the principles of art. All right, today we look at the elements. Next we're going to look at the principles of art. Now the principles are just as important as the elements, and without the elements we can't use the principles. Alright, so good afternoon class, and see you again next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye everyone.